Night arrived like a soft decision, and the valley accepted it without debate. The last color withdrew from the hills the way tea leaves give back their green to water, and a hush expanded across the fields until it fit the shape of every stone. A traveler named Ren came down the road with a pack light enough to forget and a memory heavy enough not to. He paused beside a gate that had never learned to close and pressed his palm to the warm hinge, as if greeting an old friend who knew how to wait. Beyond the gate, a path threaded through a stand of poplars where the leaves whispered like congregations that preferred listening to sermons. The path did not lead in a straight line. It leaned and reconsidered, turned where moss had opinions, drifted toward the sound of water, then away from it, as if practicing the right to change its mind. Ren walked it as one walks a question, without demanding an answer all at once, but willing to be surprised. He had come because a letter had found him in a city that never let silence sit down. The letter smelled faintly of sun on wood and had been written in a hand that never hurried its endings. "Come to the Wind Garden," it said. "Bring nothing you mean to keep. We will teach your breath its older name." The trees open on a meadow stitched with night flowers. In the meadow's center, a pavilion rose, simple and exact, its roof a shallow slope of slate that remembered rain kindly, its beams joined with pegs instead of nails, as if the structure preferred agreements to victories. Paper lanterns hung from the eaves, each one breathing with a slow life, not a flame inside, but something like moon rehearsing how to be human. An elder stood at the pavilion's threshold, hands folded where years had taught them to rest. Her hair was silver, not by surrender, but by appointment. Her eyes carried the precise shine of rivers at noon. "Welcome, Ron," she said, the way a home says welcome to shoes that remember the door. "You know my name," he said, more relieved than surprised. "I know your gait," she answered, and the sound of someone who has been breathing to a clock. He smiled with half his face and felt the other half decide to trust the night. "Amaya," she said, stepping aside. "Leave your pack there. Keep only what breath can carry. This is the Wind Garden. It grows lanterns when people remember the pace of leaves." Inside the pavilion, the floor was smooth from the passage of respectful feet. A low table held cups that had learned the exact curve of a hand. The air smelled of cedar and crushed mint, and something clean that lived under the word begin. Beyond the far railing, a brook moved over stones with such careful music that Ren felt the tendon at the base of his skull loosen, like a not hearing rain. Aya set a small bowl before him, porcelain with a thin blue line around the lip, one unbroken ring the color of dawn tilting toward day. "We call this the circle," she said. "Not because it is round, but because it returns. Tonight we will let it teach you how to stop making edges you don't need." She poured hot water over dried leaves, and the steam unrolled itself in the cup like a scroll forgiving its reader. "Drink," she said. "Then listen while the Wind Garden speaks in the ways it prefers." The first lesson arrived as a moth does, unexpected and perfectly on time. A small white-winged thing settled on the lantern nearest Run, and the lantern's skin showed the moth's shadow as a pale punctuation. "Everything that leans toward light teaches light to be kinder," Aya murmured. "You included." Ren laughed before he could decide not to. The sound surprised him. It sounded like water finding a broader bed. Aya tilted her head, listening to a teacher he could not see. "We will walk," she said. They left the pavilion and entered a corridor of low bamboos that the evening had tuned to a key without sharps. Wind stroked the stalks, and they answered in a language made of slope and joint. At a bend, the path widened and offered a bench that had learned to keep secrets. Aya sat. Ren stood a moment longer, then allowed his knees to remember permission. "Tell me a weight," Aya said, as if asking for a spice. "Obligation," Ren answered, surprised by how quickly the word volunteered. "Not to people, at least not only. To expectation. To the shape of a day before it begins. To a version of myself that never sleeps." Aya nodded her whole face. "We will loosen obligation by feeding attention," she said. They compete. Attention wins when it remembers how to move slowly. She handed him a ribbon of silk dyed the blue of before sunrise. "Tie this on a branch when you feel your breath begin to run ahead of you. The branch will hold what you think you must. Your lungs will hold what you are." They rose and followed the brook to a stone bridge, so low it looked like a thought just learning to cross. Ren tied the ribbon to a pine whose bark read like a long letter from weather, and as he cinched the knot, he felt a fraction of the pace drain from his calves, as if speed had been a color the tree knew how to drink. Again, Aya said, the way teachers who trust the lesson say again. "Another weight." "Proving," Ren said. "In rooms that don't remember laughter." They walked until they reached a field of small stones in careful swirls, a sea taught to sit. A rake leaned against a post, its teeth clean from use. Aya placed it in Ren's hands. "Proving likes to carve straight lines," she said. "Draw curves. Let the stones prove nothing except that they are good at being themselves." He pulled the rake through the gravel. The sound was medicine. The furrows he left behind looked like breath made visible, like the inside of a shell deciding to grow. When he finished, nothing had been achieved that a ledger would admire. Yet his chest had space it had not rented in years. Night gathered its shawl tighter and pinned it with a lantern star. Aya led him back to the pavilion where a low meal waited, rice that steam had blessed, greens that accepted heat as a suggestion, tea that had learned the grammar of evening. They ate without narrating hunger, and the kind of fullness that does not boast arrived and sat between them. "Now the Wind Garden will choose a teacher for you," Aya said, standing. She lifted a small bell and rang it once. The sound traveled with a kindness that made even Ren's doubts look up from their bowls. In the shadowed grove beyond, something stirred. Not heavy, not sudden, just the way a story stirs when it realizes it is being told by someone honest. A fox stepped into the lantern light. Its coat was red sand and autumn leaf, its ears the geometry of attention. In its mouth, it carried a reed flute, not bitten, not broken, simply held as a messenger is held by a message that trusts the journey. The fox came to run, set the flute at his feet, and Saturday. Its eyes contained midnight and noon at once. "Play," Aya said softly. "Not to make music. To remember you are an instrument that the world enjoys learning." "I don't know how," Ren confessed, and his confession felt like a key finding the right door. "Perfect," Aya said. "Play what breath knows." He lifted the reed. It smelled of riverbanks and hands younger than his. He put it to his lips and exhaled by accident. A tone arrived, thin as thread, steady as a horizon. Not pretty. True. He exhaled again, and the tone widened. He inhaled, and the tone rested inside him the way a bird rests in a hedge when it has earned a moment for itself. The fox closed its eyes, not from boredom, but from agreement. Good, Aya said after a while. Carry it. She placed the flute in a cloth sleeve and tied it with the same dawn blue silk. It will remind you that sound does not require permission if it arrives at the right pace. They walked to the edge of the garden where the fence stopped pretending to be a boundary and became an opinion instead. Beyond, hills turned their faces to the moon, and the moon approved. Aya pointed to a path that went on, then left, then reconsidered. Tomorrow you will go, she said. The wind garden does not keep what it can teach. Then tonight, Rin asked. Tonight we seal what has begun, Aya said, with 4 breaths and 3 names. She led him to a circle of stones warm on their shoulders from sun, save for night. First breath, she said. For where you came from. Rin inhaled and tasted rain on pavement, elevators, a keyboard that believed it was an altar, shoes that forgot softness. He exhaled until the taste thinned and finally set down its briefcase. Second breath, Aya said, for where you are. He inhaled cedar, tea, fox, lantern skin. He exhaled, and the breath left like a friend who knows it will come back by a different door. Third breath, Aya said, for where you might be if you forget. He inhaled hurry out of habit, felt it crowd his jaw, recognized its old cologne. He exhaled, and the space after heard the cricket choir adjust its tempo to include him. Fourth breath, Aya said, for the place that does not require place. He inhaled and found a room inside his chest that did not rent itself to schedules. He exhaled, and the moon approved a second time. Now the names, Aya said, and her voice made names sound like bridges rather than walls. Name one thing you will carry. Attention, Rin said. Name one thing you will plant, Aya said. Rest, Rin said, surprised that he trusted dirt. Name one thing you will return if it does not belong, Aya said. Proving, Rin said, and he felt his throat stand a little taller. Good, Aya said, as if the garden had been waiting to applaud. The lanterns along the eaves brightened briefly, the way a choir smiles without stopping singing. Sleep came to Rin not like collapse, but like a room opening its best chair. He lay on a futon near the window where night had rehearsed kindness for hours. He placed a reed flute beside him and felt it soften the permissions around his ribs. When dreams arrived, they wore soft shoes. In one, he walked back through the city with the pace of grass. Car horns tried to translate him and gave up, happily. In another, he stood on a platform with no train schedule posted and did not feel scolded by time. Morning rinsed the pavilion in milk light. Aya brewed tea without commentary. Rin drank it with the competence of a river. The fox appeared at the door and wagged its attention. Rin bowed to it as one bows to teachers who never ask for apples. You will meet 3 thresholds, Aya said as they walked to the gate. A gate of distances, a gate of voices, a gate of mirrors. The flute will know what to say. You do not have to. Rin stepped through the gate that never learned to close, and the road accepted him with the comfort of a well-fitted boot. The first threshold arrived before noon, a ridge where the valley fell away and the far mountains lined up like a choir practicing breath. The wind there had more opinions. Rin set the flute to his mouth and let the first true note of the day find its own length. The wind stepped aside politely to listen. When he finished, distance felt friendly rather than expensive. The second threshold was a town that loved its market and its market love sound. Voices braided and frayed and braided again, urgency with perfume on, bargaining with one hand while the other hand looked for another hand to hold. Rin's breath tried to run. He noticed, smiled, and put the re to his lips. He played the simplest pattern he knew. Exhale, rest, exhale, rest, and the pattern entered the street the way shade enters an argument. A child stopped tugging a sleeve. A vendor counted apples slower by exactly the amount of kindness the day could afford. Someone laughed from their belly, and the laugh wore no ring. Rin moved on without collecting proof. The third threshold was a lake that had made a mirror of itself on purpose. Rin walked the shore and saw himself so clearly he almost forgot which side of the water he belonged to. He lifted the flute and played not toward the reflection, but toward the sky. The note made a small crease on the lake's surface. The image wavered, grinned, became water again. He waved at the water, and the water waved back, which is the oldest greeting. Evening found him on a hill whose grass had accommodated many blankets and many conversations that ended with watchful silence. He lay back and let the day ask its questions and answer them without letters. Stars arrived in a sequence he had forgotten and immediately recognized. He played once more, a single line, then a pause, then a smaller line that fit inside the first like a child napping inside a story. Crickets tuned themselves to his rest. Days made a necklace of themselves. No clasp, no counting, just the satisfaction of beads that know how to touch. He visited places that had secretly been waiting for a person who did not hurry, a shrine that let swallows build above the door, a field where wind repaired the tired thoughts of travelers, a kitchen where the cook measured kindness in handfuls. In each place, he left nothing visible and rearranged the weather by a breath. He returned to the wind garden at the turn of a season, when the maples had begun to confess their desire to become fire. Aya stood where she had, hands folded, eyes bright. "How was your breath?" she asked. "Older," he said, grinning with all of his face this time. The fox jogged up, set its head against Rin's knee, and allowed itself 2 indulgent blinks. Rin held the flute out. The fox took it by the sleeve and placed it on the floor of the pavilion, as if returning a book to a shelf that remembered every reader. "Tonight we harvest the lanterns," Aya said. "Not for keeping, for teaching us the sound of letting go properly." They stood beneath the eaves as the wind brought the orchard down. One by one, the paper lanterns folded their light inward, loosened their ties, and drifted into Rin's waiting hands. He passed each to Aya, who set them gently on a low table where the night could speak to them without standing on tiptoe. When the last one rested there, the pavilion felt larger, like a chest that had learned a better expansion. "Now listen," Aya said. The unlit lanterns began to murmur, not in words but in pause and measure, a language made of gentler gravity. The sound moved around Rin's ears and into the soft places between bones and between thoughts. He understood nothing specifically and everything sufficiently. The murmur said, "All light is borrowed." Return it brighter by learning how to hold your hand open. Rin slept beside the pavilion's open side, with the knight leaned against his shoulder like a loyal dog. He woke once to rain that did not apologize for arriving, and fell asleep again with the confidence of someone who had been counted by the dark and found a fit. At dawn, the lanterns were simply paper. Aya stacked them carefully. "We will make new ones," she said, "when someone arrives who thinks breath is an enemy. Until then, let the rafters be bare." Rin packed his pack with the gentleness you use when putting away instruments after a concert that has changed your idea of music. He took nothing he meant to keep except what breath can carry: a ribbon tied between ribs and sky, the curve of stones drawn by a rake, the exact kindness of a fox's unblinking attention. At the gate, he turned. "What do I owe?" he asked, because gratitude sometimes starts with the wrong question. Aya smiled as if the question had been a bird that visited every year and always pretended it was new. "Carry the wind garden where gardens are not allowed," she said. "And if you must measure how slowly you can walk past a person who is hurrying and still be on time for what matters." Rin walked out into a day that had not yet chosen its mood. He breathed once, and the day decided to be kinder. He descended the lane past fields that had learned to forgive weather, crossed a bridge that recognized his saws, and entered a town already assembling its noise. The noise noticed him and lowered itself as a courtesy. He played the reed flute, just a thread of tone, hardly a sound at all, and the tone drew a line through the morning on which other things could hang without falling. A shopkeeper unlatched a door without sighing. A bus stopped so gently it seemed to be practicing bowing. A child forgot to cry long enough to see a moth land on her sleeve and stayed quiet for love of it. At a square where 4 streets argued about where to go next, Rin stood and did nothing for a count of 4, then held for 2, then let go for 6, and the square learned the exact radius of enough. No one thanked him. He thanked the square. This felt like the correct arithmetic. When night came again, he made camp under a tree that did not mind being asked for company. He hung no lantern. The dark had learned him. It kept him. He listened to wind moving through leaves and heard the wind garden everywhere the wind wished to teach. He slept with his palm on the reed case, not to possess, but to remember he was playable. In the years after, people would say, the man with the quiet flute came by, and everyone would know what had happened without needing to list it. A room felt more like a room. A task remembered it was not a person. A person remembered they were not a task. In one town, they tied dawn blue ribbons to the lowest branches of public trees so the hurried could leave a little pace there and pick it up on their way home, slower and truer. In another, the market changed its bell to a softer tone that invited instead of corrected. Rin returned to the wind garden often and not at all, because carrying it meant arrival did not require geography. The pavilion sometimes had lanterns, sometimes had rafters and the honesty of dark. Aya grew older in ways that sharpened light. The fox became rumor, and then instruction, and then, at odd hours, companion again. On the last evening anyone remembers him there, Rin stood at the threshold with Aya and watched the meadow practice dusk. "Have we kept faith?" he asked. "We kept breath," she answered. Faith rode in on that, as it prefers. He bowed to the gate that never learned to close, walked the path that always considered, and stepped into a night that belonged to everyone who could hear it. The lanterns did not follow. They did not need to. The wind lifted, content to garden wherever lungs allowed. Run breathed, and the world, relieved to be reminded, breathed with him.